Very pleased to be joined by Cassie Schmidt. We're going to be talking some playoff basketball. Of course, the EPC and Colonial League boys and girls tournaments get underway this weekend. Gwen and Christy were here yesterday, Cass, and they talked about how wide open the EPC field is on both the boys and girls side of things. And after the regular season we saw in the Colonial League, we expect more of the same in those brackets as well.
Yeah, for girls and for boys, but that's what makes it the most interesting, right? Never really knowing who's going to be crowned champion.
So, without any further ado, let's take a look at the 12 participating teams in the Colonial League boys and girls basketball tournaments. We will start tonight with the fellas. Notre Dame Green Pond, your East Division champion and the #1 overall seed going into the tourney after a 17-1 league mark, 19 wins in 22 ball games overall. Southern Lehigh, meanwhile, claimed the West Division. Ryan Ware's group came on strong late, winning its final 6 regular season outings to claim the #2 seed. Quarterfinal action sees defending champion Wilson on the 6th line. Yes, the Warriors, who won it all over the Spartans a year ago, will be an underdog against a Saucon Valley team that only won 7 games a season ago, going in as the #3 seed. The Panthers seeking their first Colonial League title in more than a decade. Meanwhile, the 4-5 matchup, certainly an intriguing one, as the #4 Blue Bombers will take on 5th-seeded Bangor. We know the Slaters won 4 straight Colonial League titles from 2015 to 2018. The Blue Bombers have never won a Colonial League crown. Of course, as I mentioned, the Wilson Warriors are your defending Colonial League boys basketball champions. Meanwhile, Cass, over on the girls' side, it's many of the same participants, but in some different seeding slots.
Yes, that it is. Let's taking a look at our bracket. First round action, of course, beginning tonight, but also continuing on through Saturday. Palmerton returns to this year's tournament as the 1 seed. They were runners-up last year. Northwestern Lehigh winning its 2nd consecutive Colonial League crown a year ago. Taking a look at the #6 and #3 matchup there at the top, with Northern Lehigh coming in at that 13-9 overall mark, 9-8 in Colonial League action. Tigers and Bulldogs did meet twice during the regular season. First time a 50-point win. Second time, a 54-23 victory for Northwestern. That only coming a week ago. The Bulldogs have lost their last 4 entering the postseason. Something would kind of have to go pretty terribly wrong for the Tigers to drop this one, but hey, that's why you play the game. Waiting on the winner of that, of course, will be Notre Dame Green Pond, who secured that #2 seed. Then the 4-5 matchup, this one should have a little more drama to it. Bangor 17-5 overall, 14-4 in the Colonial League. Same thing for Penn Argyl on the other side, who got the 4 seed, also 14-4. 10-2 in the division are both Bangor and Penn Argyl. These two have now split the season series, with Penn Argyl winning more recently at the home of the Slaters by 15 points. Biggest factor, though, is the injured Avery Nelson for the Slaters. She is not expected to return for this game. What could be a benefit for Bangor, though, is just having seen them. Maybe they can correct a few things from the matchup, having just seen them on Tuesday.
Well, we talked about parity, and the Colonial League girls bracket tells you everything you need to know. A team in Northwestern that's won 20 games in a row, yet that's not good enough to take the division. Meanwhile, on that one line, you've got a Palmerton team seeking its first league title in 25 years after back-to-back runner-up finishes. Super intriguing, both of those brackets. Let's dive a little deeper, and let's start with our teams to watch. I'll start on the boys' side of things, and I think you have to look no further than on that #1 seed line with the Notre Dame Green Pond Crusaders. I mentioned they claimed the East via a 17-1 Colonial League record. They will hit the playoffs unbeaten in the calendar year of 2023, riding a 12-game winning streak. And that 12-game run includes win over all 5 fellow tournament participants in the Colonial League boys bracket. They only have 3 losses in total, one of those in the league, and that was a 1-point loss at Saucon Valley in late December. They are led by 2 key seniors in Zach Rogers and Chase Marks. Rogers averaging nearly 15 points per game, Marks meanwhile a dozen. But they also have a strong inside game with Dane Vassallo. Crusaders, they can hurt you inside, they can hurt you out. They average 6.5 made 3-pointers on a per-game basis, and if that's not enough, this is a team that's getting healthier. They expect Colin Boyle back in the playoffs, and Danny Darno, who's been out with an ankle injury, they expect him back as well. Meanwhile, they've got the most veteran head coach in the Colonial League, Pat Boyle, in his 27th season. His group seeking its first Colonial League crown since 2014, and Coach Boyle knows this is a group that wants it more than most.
This is not a hard group to keep focused. They're extremely focused and come to practice and work really, really hard. I've been here 27 years, and these practices are as competitive as I've ever seen. So my job is to actually try to dial them back a little bit and try to make sure we go in healthy.
I think we'll keep working hard at practice. I think we'll keep getting at each other like we have all year. I don't think we're going to take much time off, if any, and I think we'll just be ready to go come Wednesday.
Now they're all going to be on neutral courts. They're not going to be in the friendly confines of Notre Dame, where we love playing. So we're feeling good about going into next Wednesday, but the important season starts now.
Now our team to watch on the girls' side, maybe a bit of an obvious answer. Without a doubt, the hottest team entering the playoffs, your Northwestern Lehigh Lady Tigers. They are riding, as we mentioned, a 20-game win streak. They have not lost a game since the second game of the season. That way back on December the 6th, a 33-30 setback to Palmerton. They have since avenged that loss to the Bombers, winning the second meeting then back in late January. I think really what proved themselves, though, was not just defeating Palmerton, but getting back-to-back wins within a 2-game stretch, defeating Notre Dame as well. Both of those also road victories. Tigers, of course, led by 1,000-point scorer Paige Severin. Severin has dominated the paint all season long and has been a tough matchup for pretty much anyone. She gets a lot of really great help around her, though, in Kara Thomas, Macy Fisher, and Brooke Balliott. They also have playoff and some championship experience, which I believe can go a long way. So mentioning before, the Tigers are your 2-time defending champs, and this group has definitely been motivated all season long to go, though, for its 3rd straight.
This is a Northwestern Lehigh team that has won 18 games by 10 or more points this season, and the Tigers' average margin of victory this year, 26 points. So they have won a whole lot of games, and they have won a whole lot of games going away. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of now have to navigate the waters of the playoffs, where you play some tightly contested games. Mentioned Pat Boyle, veteran head coach for Notre Dame. Tigers have a good one in Chris Deutsch. He's been there nearly 2 decades.
Yeah, in 19 years at the helm there, certainly knows what he's doing in that. So I think those are the little things that start to add up. We did mention maybe not a lot of close games, so we'll see if that comes into factor here when the tournament starts.
Okay, we're going to talk about maybe some sleeper teams in just a little bit, but let's focus in on now some individuals and our players to watch in the Colonial League boys and girls basketball tournament. I'll start with the fellas, and I'm going to a Southern Lehigh senior in Max Pristis, a 4-year varsity player who won a Colonial League title as a freshman, but then was on the losing end as a junior last year in that 56-50 setback against Wilson. Pristis is the straw that stirs the drink for the Spartans, averaging better than 16 points per game. He bulked up in the offseason and can score now both inside and out. He reached double figures in all but one of 22 games this season, and he's been saving his best for the latter parts of the season. Over the last 8 ball games, Pristis is averaging nearly 20 points per game, and he rises to the occasion in big games. 19 points head-to-head against Palmerton, 17 in a late-season matchup with Freedom, 19 then in a late-season crossover game against Emmaus. Meanwhile, he dropped 22 on fellow Colonial League tournament participant in Bangor. Had a game-high 15 points in last year's Colonial League championship. I think Max Pristis certainly one to watch for the Southern Lehigh Spartans.
Yeah, without a doubt. And on the other side, though, it's Penn Argel that we're looking at for my player to watch in Jill Morrow. She is a recent 1,000-point scorer coming after a victory against Moravian Academy. Morrow is just the 5th Green Knight to achieve that 1,000-point status. The senior guard is the first to reach that mark as well in 19 seasons. I think a big reason why she's my player to watch, though, is just her ability to do it all. The senior guard averages 20.8 points per game. Now, that's top in our area, EPC, or the Colonial League. Morrow dropped a 30 bomb against Bangor just 3 days ago, and she does it again from all areas on the floor. She went 11 of 13 from the charity stripe in that victory. Morrow is truly an impact player and will be key for this Green Knights team. I did talk to Coach Ossinek following their victory the other night, and he told me that even a year ago she was a top 6 player in the league, but this year she's taken it up another notch further.
This year she's propelled herself game even more. She just imposes her will upon teams and just does not let anyone stand in her way, whether they're 7 foot tall or 4 foot tall. She doesn't care. She's going to go to the basket. She's going to work hard. So yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of her energy, and she helps us in the gym keep everybody focused. So she's a leader on the team as well, not just on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's just good to know that we're not done yet and that I'm just going to go out in my last year season and just play as hard as I can, because I know that this is probably my last year, so I'm just going to go out and not regret anything.
I think she can make a big impact. I mean, I hope she does. I mean, it's gonna be a big part of what we do. I mean, she's not the only player, but we need her. Last year she got hurt towards the end of the year, and it really hurt us. In the playoffs, she kind of limped in with a sprained ankle. Right now she's very healthy, so that's very exciting for us to have a healthy Jill. Last year we kind of limped in a little bit, so I'm pretty excited about it.
An impact player in so many ways, and she really is a player that can kind of take that team to the next level and maybe hopefully on to the next round as well. She also broke the single season record this year with 457 points, scoring just this season. So she's had a heck of a senior year. Yeah,
and she has helped that Penn Argyl team really peak at the right time of year. The Green Knights go into the playoffs riding an 11-game winning streak. And oh, by the way, Jill is averaging nearly 27 points per game during that winning streak. Now, you're not really going to find any sleepers. Once you make the playoffs, you're a legit team. But there are dark horses, maybe off-the-radar teams that most don't necessarily expect to be in the final matchup. Those are the ones that we're focusing on right now. I'll start with the boys and my dark horse team. We mentioned them earlier, a team that won 4 Colonial League crowns from 2015 to 2018. This year sitting on the number 5 line, and it's the Bangor Slaters. Why are they a dark horse? Because they're playing their best basketball at the right time of year. They've won 3 out of their last 4 and 5 of 7 overall. And since the calendar turned to 2023, Colin Kessler's group has gone 9-3. This after they went 4-6 through the first 10 games of the season. They are also in the midst of a 6-game road winning streak. Why is that important? Well, because the Slaters on the 5 line won't play at home the rest of the way. It's all going to be either on the road or neutral site games. The Slaters have a legit MVP candidate in senior Josh Giaquinto, averaging nearly 19 points per game. He's reined in 55 three-pointers this season and has reached double figures in 19 of 22 games overall, including 11 straight. But it's not just Giaquinto. He's got a supporting cast as well. Senior Ashton Kluska averaging nearly a dozen points per game. And over the last 6, he's producing 16.5 points per outing. And sophomore Hunter McShane has really come on as the season has moved along. Averages just 6 points per outing, but can hurt you from deep. He's knocked down 27 3-balls this season. The first-round matchup is against Palmerton, a team the Slaters knocked off by 4 in late January, and they've got a seasoned head coach in Colin Kessler, just his 4th year at the helm, but he led the Slaters to both a Colonial League and district championship just 2 seasons ago. I think Bangor, a bit of a sleeper in the Colonial League boys field.
Yeah, and I think for the girls, we got to talk about Notre Dame Green Pond. We looked at the brackets, and it might seem a bit odd, right? My dark horse team is a 2 seed. Well, again, that is based off the division. They did enough to win the East Division. Now, the last time they won a league title was just in the 2020 season. They do, however, have some key losses, right? We have one to Bangor. That one was early on. Allentown Central Catholic midway through. Viket's a bit of a different story there. And then Palmerton Northwestern and Penn Argyl then just last week. So key losses there, but I believe that because for 2 reasons. Notre Dame, they come in with experience in its coaching staff. Josh Kopp has been on the sidelines for nearly 20 years for the Crusaders. But I also believe that the Crusaders are a team that learns from its mistakes. So while no one wants to lose, I think this is a group that uses its losses as building blocks and as motivation. And I think when they are on shooting-wise from the outside, they can get Carly Campbell involved inside. And so they become a little more two-dimensional. They also emphasize defense, and we all know the saying, defense wins championships. They firmly believe that, but they do certainly have a tough one, though, in awaiting most likely Northwestern Lehigh.
It's a Notre Dame team that, you're right, gets by on its defense, held its opponents to under 30 points 11 times this season. And they don't have that alpha scorer, that go-to, but Josh Kopp does have 4 players on his roster that tallied 100 points or better throughout the course of the season. That's very valuable in the playoffs. You get those role player contributions. Coming off the bench, sort of the sleeper picks. That can be a big difference in the playoffs.
And even, too, I have to go back to the losses where they lost to, again, Palmerton and Northwestern. Those were back-to-back losses. But since then, they were able to regroup and really felt good about having those losses happen then. Of course, nobody wants to lose, but it's going to happen in the regular season. That's okay compared to the postseason. So I do think, again, with that experience on the coaching side and being able to learn from their mistakes, that's why they're a bit of a sleeper heading into the tournament.
Yeah, Crusaders have a good one with Josh Kopp on the sidelines, as we know. Again, Again, division winners in Colonial League get a bye into the semifinals. So those division winners we noted, they are on hold until Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. Quarterfinals get started tonight. One matchup this evening on the girls' side, Bangor and Penn Argyl. The other 3 quarterfinals, those will take place on Saturday. Of course, we'll have a full recap of the entire weekend of EPC and Colonial League playoff basketball coming up on Monday's edition of Sports Scene, which, oh, by the way, will be live at PPL Center. So look forward to that.